Welcome to Dead Man Talking. Tonight's story is full of mystery and terror, and from the incredible mind of Based God 3001 over on Reddit No Sleep. As ever, please do let me know what you thought down below in the comments box. Please do like and share. It really does help build the channel and our community further. And why not hashtag TeamFEAR and DMT's Cryptid crew. And so, with that aside, let's get into tonight's story. Entitled, My Uncle Benjamin was contacted by something. Let's get straight into that. Uncle Benjamin was a different breed, or in a word, eccentric. In a few, the isolationist lunatic black sheep of our family. He would sit up all night with a shortwave radio, tuning it in preparation for something, or anything, according to my mother. Everything in his home was anachronistic, as if plucked from a time when plumbing wasn't a thought and a double-barrel shotgun were a household necessity. My mom still thought a lot of him, so when I laughed at her story she felt a little bad about it. My only first-hand experiences with him are from visits to his house in Nowhere, Iowa, where nothing but corn blankets the landscape. His big 3-story wooden house sits on a hill backed by a state forest, and the drive there is anything but scenic. I remember looking up at the house, wondering why anyone would choose to live so far from anything. "Oh, don't touch anything," my mum would say sternly ahead of our arrival. Not that I want to. My shoes crunched on the dead grass as I walked towards the house, ready to be greeted by my lanky uncle wearing decades-old clothing. He wasn't much of a hugger. On our last visit, I was behind the house, pissing after holding it in for an hour. I would use the bathroom, but I was very arachnophobic at the time, and I'd seen enough spiders in there to know better. A stick cracked under a heavy boot, and I turned my head as I hurriedly zipped my pants back up. But when I scanned the backyard through the thin tree line, well, there was nothing there. Stepping over roots and treading back onto the property, I made my way towards the back door. But when I walked past the shed, my heart nearly stopped. Uncle Benjamin stood around the corner of the shed, knees bent as if waiting to pounce. A muffled squeal emanated from under a strange leather pig mask, and his arms were outstretched towards me. Even though I knew who it was, I still booked it. His laughter rang out behind me as if it was the funniest thing in the world. So yeah, ham dinners, insects and heart attacks were what I thought of when I looked back on my dear uncle. But still, my mum loved him dearly. Then, a high school senior, I hadn't seen him in 4 years. So when my mum asked me to come with her to check on him, it took me a little by surprise. "I got the message, Maria. They came up from the forest last night and they left me a sign. I've been waiting for this. No matter how many times you laugh and criticize, I'm chosen and you aren't. I feel sorry for you. You know when I said Zed used my radio to tell me when they were here and you look so scared. You look so scared to be left behind. Do you believe I'm the one in need of help? Do you really believe you don't have a reckoning of your own to face? You come up last August, no kid, just to see if I hadn't gone and killed myself. The closer I get to something bigger than your worldview, your motherfucking ideation, the scared you get of me. You never understood. Well, fuck you." Click. A strange voicemail. That was the reason I was sitting in a car with the radio on, blasting Central Iowan programming. All the context my mom would give me about the voicemail was his belief that some sort of group was waiting to give Benjamin information of some kind. I guess when she tried to get him help, he was so offended that he banned her from ever returning to his home. He kept telling me about Zed, the ruler of this tribe of creatures that would speak to him through the radio. He said they spoke a strange language, but he could understand what they were telling him. He sounded crazy, she explained. We always thought of him as wacky, but this stuff? It's getting really out there. It didn't make any sense. The reason we were going there alone instead of calling someone to help him, like the police, was my mum's fear of what he might do. She knew he was armed and had plenty of ammunition, and even though he'd never been violent before, he wasn't very predictable. If a cop arrived on his property and was met with a hail of gunfire, she wouldn't be able to deal with it. If we arrived in a familiar old SUV, there was no way he was reacting violently, no matter how pissed off he was. The long stretches of empty road let my nerves build up. It's not like I was happy to be there, but since I was the only one available to her, I had to help out. When we finally reached the place, it was late afternoon, around dinner time, but the lights were off in every window. The isolated property was darker than usual, with heavy clouds shielding it from the light. His truck was there, in its usual spot, so we saddled up and walked towards the front door. I stood on the lowest step of the porch as my mum waited for a moment at the door, fist in a ready position to knock. When she did, the hollow sound got no response. "Is it locked?" I asked. It wasn't, which was the strangest thing so far. The main floor had dozens of unlit candles everywhere, with dried wax pooling at the bases. The hardwood floor was dirty and unkempt, and it smelled like a refrigerator had been refrigerating anything for at least a week. "Jesus Christ!" Mum exclaimed. I walked through the living room, past the kitchen and out the back door, surveying the backyard. It was empty aside from a table and a lawn chair. The shed was open and empty, and the silence of it all, it was deafening. "Lucas?" My mum called out my name. I went upstairs to meet her in Benjamin's bedroom. Candles were dotted around the perimeter of the room, and a handgun lay on the bedside table. When I flicked the light switch, it didn't work at all. Trash was scattered across the floor as if he had given up on his home entirely. "He goes hunting. He could be out there somewhere, right now," my mum offered. And just as I was going to respond, a sudden electronic noise startled me out of my confusion. I followed it down to the cellar with my mum right behind me, clamoring to see if Benjamin was down there. "Benjamin? Benjamin, are you here?" It was incredibly dark down there, so I shone my phone's flashlight around the room, making my way to the chattering radio in the center of the floor. The channel switched rapidly before settling on static as my phone created a spotlight for it. The static buzzed. "Maria!" Just as the radio spoke my mother's name, my phone's flashlight flickered out and the cellar door pulled shut as if compelled by a magnet. Lucas! Maria! Lucas! My mum screamed and backed up until she hit the wall, and I heard her shrink to the floor in fear. I fumbled for the doorknob in the pitch darkness, begging for the chance to escape this cellar, and the radio continued to buzz. "I feel sorry for you. You know when I said Zed used my radio to tell me why they were here, and you look so scared. You look so scared to be left behind. The closer I get to something bigger than your worldview, your motherfucking ideation. Fuck you. I feel sorry for you." A crackling barrage of laughter blasted from the machine as Benjamin's voice taunted us, and tears welled up in my eyes as my heart pounded as hard as it ever had when the door would not open. "You have a reckoning. Zed spoke to me. A reckoning." And suddenly, a blinding white light flashed around the edges of the doorframe, disorientating and forcing me to shield my eyes as the noise grew louder. Now, sound surrounded us from everywhere, with screams, laughter, buzzing, beeping, and chirping. A deafening squeal sounded off next to my head as I began to yell at whatever was assaulting my nerves and senses. I heard the otherworldly roar of a machine from outside the cellar as the radio continued to speak to us. "Gone and killed myself. It skipped and sputtered. The cacophony sped up as I curled into a fetal position, trying to guard myself from an all-present threat. The last thing I heard was my uncle's voice calling my mother's name before I blacked out. I blinked my eyes open on a quiet road next to a phone booth. When I spoke to the police, I had no explanation for where my mother went. And I still don't. Wow. Short but intriguing story there from the incredible mind of Base God 3001 over on Reddit No Sleep. Big thank you, Based, for allowing me to narrate your work on the show. Very refreshing and intriguing storyline there, and I certainly look forward to more of your work in the future. Guys and girls, as ever, you know the drill. Please do let me know what you thought down below in the comments box. Please do like and share. Well, it really does help with the channel and our community further. And why not hashtag TeamFEAR and DMT's Cryptid Crew. If you're an aspiring writer, why not get in touch with myself at the brand new contact email, which is contactthedeadone@gmail.com. I really look forward to hearing from you. I hope everyone's enjoying the bright, beautiful sunshine and is slowly getting back to regular life outside the pandemic. But above all, guys, remember, be safe, not sorry.